Yes.
Hi and welcome to the video for the final race of the season, which took place at the wonderful Ellough Park. This weekend was all about clinching a top 5 position in the championship. It was also an extra special event as the whole thing was live streamed, so alongside my voiceover you'll also hear the expert commentary from the Karting Live TV team. So without any further ado, let's jump straight into the first race and see how we get on.
Like Dominic Hempton, Ethan Hall, Alex Vangeen and Charlie Freeman on row 2, and we are going green, and we head down to turn 1, which is Degner, and it'll be all 31 karts that will make their way around. And this is where you can't get it wrong, because look at that, everybody there was in the leading seat.
And as we all fight for the lead, we go into turn 1. Me and Tom have contact. We bump off into Charlie, and Charlie gets spun off into the distance. That allows Paul to get through me, which I want to get back past him as quickly as possible because I know I have a bit of pace on Paul. However, Paul manages to get straight back underneath me as I go past him into the hairpin. And this is going to end up being the bane of my race because I get stuck behind Paul for the majority of this race while we try and fight for the final step on the podium. And as we open up into the wide shot, you can see the massive gaggle of cars going into the penultimate corner as I have Jacob Sharrett tucked right up behind me. Jacob Sharrett, one of the quickest guys on circuit this weekend. He was keen to get past and get as many positions forward from his grid as possible as he pushes past Dom on the inside up the final straight. I duck down to try and get a little bit of speed. I open up the corner to try and catch up because I want to get straight back to the back of Paul because I do not want to stare at the back of that yellow car. And by the way, look at all those GXUK karts going through that first corner. It looks beautiful. At this point, Jacob has a big lunge up the inside of me. I see him coming. I leave the door open for him so that he can come straight through. At this point in the race, I know he's quicker than me, so I've got more chance of catching the karts in front if I follow Jacob than just trying to fight him. Because when you fight around this circuit, like we have seen at a lot of these tracks so far, you just lose lots of time. As I squeeze on the power as I try and push Jacob on the exit of that corner there, the pit lane, the corner by the pit lane, and we come back into the T79 corner, I think they called it. You'll hear it repeated on the commentary a bunch of times as Jacob's got a little bit away from me and Matt now is up behind me, pushing me up the straight, hoping to return the favour from Clay, but instead he just goes for the move instead. But oh well, that's Matty for you. So as we can see, Jacob Sharrett is tucked right up behind Paul now. I want to be as close to that battle as possible, but Jacob has already found his way past Paul, so I can't do anything to help fight and follow my way through him. So now my fight is again just to get to the back of Paul. So as we skip forward a lap, we're at my favourite overtaking opportunity, and I have a big lunge down the inside of Paul. I get on the brakes very, very hard, but I don't quite manage to get it stopped in time. Paul not only comes back past me, but also at this point Matt has come back past me. That is the big problem with this track. If you make a move and it doesn't stick, you are most likely to lose a position. So that has me dropped down from 3rd place to about 6th at this point, which is incredibly frustrating. But let's see what we can do and if we can move any further forward. As we skip forward again, Matty Roberts has got a great run at the last corner on Paul. Paul doesn't go too defensive, and Matt goes straight up the inside and slots in front of him. Now I'm even closer to Paul, and all I want to do is try and do the exact same thing as Matt, but Paul is giving everybody else an easier time, it seems, than me, or I'm just making a meal of it. So we will see how it goes. I have more of a think about having a lunge up into this hairpin. Paul runs a little bit wide, but manages to carry the speed, so I don't manage to get back past him.
We've got the number 88 of Vangeen there, the red, white and blue kart. Alex does mentioned Alex's YouTube show that he does after each round, and it really is that's a good promotional program that you need to fire people towards, because it really shows this in great light.
We've obviously done the normal type of promotion, we've advertised the class, explained the class, but really it's been the drivers who've driven the numbers.
Yes.
And as we come around to start another lap, there is me and Brad and George goes for a lunge up the inside into turn 1, but he does not get the move done. I managed to stop him just enough, but what it's done is it's checked him up, so Brad has managed to get down the inside of him into turn 2, and then is now on the hot pursuit of me as I am still staring at the back of Paul's kart. So as we start the penultimate lap, Paul is going ultra defensive. I've got a really, really good run on Paul, but but I have nowhere to go. I go to the inside, but I notice that Brad is moving to the outside. At this point, I know I'm screwed because Paul doesn't know Brad's there. He's defending me super hard and leaves a really easy line for Brad to just pull around the outside of both of us and get us both into turn 2. I was absolutely helpless there. There was nothing I could do to stop Brad coming past while also trying to keep some momentum and with Paul defending so hard against me. So unfortunately we lost out there, and that would be pretty much the end of our race because we would sit behind Paul for the rest of this race, staring at that bright yellow kart that is now ingrained into my mind. So that was the end of the first race. Didn't go quite the way I wanted to. Paul was really hard to overtake. He did a really, really fantastic job of defending, and I just have to try harder and get past a bit more and be a little bit more aggressive. I had those 2 overtake attempts into the hairpin, which I ran too wide. Paul was smart and undercut me, but the problem was the 2 times I did it, I lost positions. And then in that final lap, when Brad got both of us, Paul didn't know Brad was there. So it's one of those things where, listen, I've a little bit of a sit rep on the kart. I've had to fix the tracking because with that contact at turn 1, I think it put my tracking way out, so that might have been part of the reason I was struggling through that race. But other than that, give the car a clean, lube up, and we'll go. And race 2 will be now. So as we are heading down to turn 1, I have Ethan on my inside with Tom Butler just ahead of him. The whole point here is to now just stay completely out of trouble because I am on the outside and try and gain as many positions as possible and not lose, because when you're on the outside it is very easy to roll up the inside. But actually I've done a quite good job here. I've managed to keep Ethan at bay. I managed to stay on the inside of him coming up into the hairpin, and Tom runs a little bit wide and I managed to just nip up the inside of Tom and get myself right behind Ben White as we head down towards the pit lane corner. I don't know what to call it. It's a lovely corner though, heavy braking, tight right hander. You've got to take as much apex as possible, not like I did there, and we're heading off after Ben. Now as we skip forward a few laps, because as I showed, overtaking is difficult around this circuit, so I've had to work very, very hard to get as close to Ben as I possibly can. He got a little bit of a wobbly exit from that last corner. I managed to get a decent drag up the inside of him. I'm a quarter of a kart length up the inside of him. He sees me there, he gives me the room just for me to slot in behind him, and now to head off after Tim and after the rest of the gaggle that are in front of us. And I managed to get a really nice run through turn 2 and get a good propulsion out of turn 2 and then launch it up the inside of Tim into turn 3. Tim saw me coming, leaves me in the room. Always super clean is Tim, and always has very good awareness of what is going on around him. So now I'm past Tim. I'm now off after my nemesis from Clay Pigeons, Simon Fuller. Me and Simon had a little coming together at Clay at the chicane. First time he cut across me, second time I hoofed him out the way basically. So now it's my turn to try and get past Simon. Let's see what we can do.
Well, that kart there with the blue overalls and the white shoulders,
yeah.
Alex Vangeen there, he's in it. Ahead of him, Simon
68,
Fuller.
68.
Ahead of him is Purchase.
Oh, at the inside,
and
nice move by
Vangeen
Vangeen there.
Yeah, into T73. Vangeen, bit of an opportunist move there.
So very shortly after overtaking Simon, I'm right up the inside of Tom into the hairpin. As we come together, we just touch, but what happens is he touches my wheel and he goes up into the air, and that sends him off into the barrier. I'm fine, but unfortunately Dom is often in the barrier and lost lots of positions. So as you can see from the replay, Dom does see me coming through. We are side by side. He squeezes me quite hard, but we have the smallest amount of contact, wheel-on-wheel contact, and it's the wheel-on-wheel contact that causes the issue. It's the wheel-on-wheel contact that sends the kart into the air. If it was 10 centimetres further back, he'd have hit my side pod, bounced off, and we'd have been absolutely fine. For me, this is a 50-50. I was up the inside, I did have the room, and Dom has come slightly towards me, but we are going into a hairpin at quite a rate of speed. I think we were both under control. It's just one of those things that was unfortunate. Dom got launched off into the scenery, and I got a 5-second penalty, which dropped me really, really far down the order, which is horrible in this situation, but that's racing.
Down, isn't he? Fuller and Purchase. Now behind him is Tim Kansas on the number 79, and there's Vangeen down the inside at T73 again.
Right.
He's
very. But not he lost a bit of momentum there, but not quite enough to let the 79 Tim Kansas get past him.
That's because of that sweeping right-hander onto the straight. Here they are, side by side.
So as we come on to the final lap, and I'm still desperate to get past Simon, and he is desperate to keep me behind. I get a really good run through turn 1 as he went very narrow to try and keep me behind, and I get a really good run. Tim gives me a nice little push into turn 2, and I manage to slip up the inside of Simon. However, Tim's valiance to try and help me get ahead cost him not 1 but 2 places. So Tim again giving up himself for the greater good.
This is. I mean, if you're in amongst that, it looks chaos from where we are, but it's not quite. It's kind of high-speed chaos, isn't it? When you're in amongst it.
There's no chess playing.
No, no
one's playing chess.
We're playing high-speed drafts here, mate.
No,
Checkers.
This is Call of Duty.
Yeah, here we go. We're on the final lap, would you believe? And the checkered flag is flying because Jacob Sharrock has lost out, and Jacob Sharrock will come third because George Massey.
What happened to Philpot the last lap?
What happened to Brad Philpot and Jacob Sharrock?
There's been all sorts of stuff we missed, talking about all the other...
We got too excited with the midfield pack for this heat too.
Well, I'll tell you what happened. What happened was Brad and Jacob were fighting so hard that Brad hit a wall, busting his rear axle, and then Jacob thought he saw the finishing line and celebrated. Brad saw Jacob celebrating, and they both slowed down. George and Seb didn't see a flag, continued racing, both drove past Jacob and Brad, and then they went off to go get first and second place. Massive errors from the 2 fastest drivers in the series, and Brad Philpot, the most experienced driver in the series. So yes, big errors on those parts. Go watch Brad's video if you want the full explanation of what happened there.
This might look a little bit janky because I'm just holding the little camera as it's about to go on my car, because all hell broke loose with that race. So obviously you saw there was a bit of contact. However, the contact I had with Dom resulted in me getting a 5-second penalty. I don't really agree with it, and also I thought they're supposed to be only giving place penalties, not seconds, because a 5-second penalty drops me from 7th to 19th, and that sucks. So yeah, but Brad bent his axle, Kyle basically wrote off the kart. So we've been so busy, and this is the first chance I'm getting to actually do anything to camera. So we're off for race 3 now, so wish me luck.
And as the lights go green and we head to turn 1, I'm going to hand back over to the Karting Live commentary team because this is brilliant.
Let's see if they all make it out. It's a very crowded midfield as ever. I'm falling in love with this class of karting. It might not be the fastest kart series out there, but the racing is phenomenal.
Unbelievable stuff.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. I can just imagine being out there. It's just phenomenal stuff.
So we're a few laps into the race now, and I've got Charlie and Ben in front of me, and Charlie gets a little bit of a swapper and hits the side of Ben. I give Ben a massive whack up the backside to push him through, and I push myself past Charlie, and I end up going past Ben as well. So that's a nice couple of positions gain for me there. And then as we roll on a couple of laps, you can see I've got a nice little gap just ahead of Tom Sully and Brad Philpot. But I'm going to make 2 really big mistakes, which is going to cost me dearly. And when it comes to this corner, I'm going to cut too much of that curb as the car skates across the ground, skating me off to the side of the wall, and I had to back off to not hit the wall. And then I come in again, and I do it here, and again you see me skate off to the side. And what it's done, as you look at the camera, Sully is right up the inside of me now, having a go at me, which obviously has brought Brad straight back into the fight. So now I've gone from a nice little gap to ruining it all and having these two fighting all over me as Sully makes a dive down the inside, but I managed to just hold him off. Because he's gone for that dive, it slowed him down, and Brad's now up the inside of Sully, and now I have Brad on my backside again. Now as we exit the hairpin, Brad's got a really, really good run on me. I take this fast left-hander, you're flat out through here, then flat out through the right-hander, and then you have to set yourself up ready for this right-hander. But Brad sticks his nose in right down the inside, brakes very, very late. I managed to hang around the outside, I managed to keep the position, I go very, very tight to the inside line, and I managed to keep the corner for that particular moment. So I've survived that moment. But at this point, I know Brad is getting very frustrated because he's obviously thinks he's faster, and therefore he wants to push further ahead. But I'm not going to let him do that just yet. And as we enter into the final lap, Sully pokes his nose in, it's turn 2, and then Brad tries to come through as well, but Brad doesn't leave me enough room on the outside and actually squeezes me on the outside. He was not happy about this. He thought I was off the track and therefore shouldn't come back on, but we can see from this that I definitely was. So as you can see, as we come to the corner, I've given him the space and I've given him the room. Now, because I'm still well alongside him, he is supposed to leave me room on the exit here, but he doesn't. He squeezes me right off the side of the track, so I try to maintain my gap, and we have contact, and smoke flies and goes everywhere. So I'm putting that incident firmly at Mr. Philpot's door. And that was that for that race, because nothing else happened. Brad stayed where he was, I stayed where I was, and we finished P8 and P9.
So that race was chaos and fun. Got a good run on the inside in turn 1, and just a mega battle with Brad. He's a bit biffed at me for what happened at the exit of turn 2. Once I look back at the footage, I'll tell you whether it is my fault or not. So we will see. But no, it's been a good fun day. Obviously, I'm gutted about the penalty because it turns out that the clerk of the course can decide whether you get points or seconds. So I got a 5-second penalty in that race, so that put me down to 19th. So, but we start 9th for the final. And that's good because I thought I had a terrible day, so I thought I'd be much further back than that. And it's also good because it means we're on the inside. So, yeah, let's go for top 5, shall we? Kyle, how has your day been, my friend?
Dramatic. Bent the chassis, the stub, the steering column, tracking rod, and left some blood on the floor tray as well.
As we head down to turn 1, I'm behind Simon Fuller. I've got Paul to the left-hand side of me, but there's contact up front as there's lots of hand waving and people going off wide. Don't quite know what caused all that, but it didn't affect me. I didn't regain or lose anything out of it, so I'm not going to be too bothered. I just want to tuck in and set myself up for this very long final, and hopefully move further forward. As we move forward a few laps, you've got Matthew Roberts and Simon Fuller having a good old battle out in front. But as they've gone through that hairpin, I've got a little bit checked up, and Oscar has managed to get on the right hand side of me. He's got a really good run. Got his tyres up to temperature really early in this very cold start of a race. It nearly rained for the start of this race, and has managed to move me back down to 7th position. As we head into the penultimate corner in this big long train, as Matthew Roberts has finally got himself past Simon Fuller, and it's now up to me and Oscar to try and find our way past Simon as well. Simon, who had very good heats and stayed out of trouble, even though wasn't the fastest, got a really good start up the grid. And that's what this racing is all about. It is really about trying to just get the best results you can out of the heats, as I try and just nudge Oscar through on Simon, and we both managed to go through as Simon is forced wide, and that is a position up for me. And oh no, look! Simon's come back through again. So now I've got to go and do all this work on my own, a bit like Tim in the previous race where Tim helped me out and he lost out. I helped Oscar out and now I lose out. So now, I'm up the inside as Tim makes a little mistake going into that left-hander there, and I managed to nick past, get a really good run, and now I take the position from Simon. As we fast forward the footage, because over the next 4 laps you're going to see me trying to reel Oscar back in. So Oscar had a really hot start to the race. I think he had more pressure in his tyres than I did, so his tyres got up to temperature quicker. But obviously that means mine, when they start to come up, I will eventually have more pace. So I am starting to catch him. I do have Ethan behind me, who is nudging me forward every so often to try and catch up with Oscar, because we think we can get him. We think we're quicker, and we want to go and have a fight. So after a few laps of chasing him down, we finally got him in shooting distance, but I know Ethan has been behind me and been very quick, and Ethan gets a better run out of me out of this corner and up into the penultimate corner. He goes up the inside. I saw him coming, I let him have it, because I think following Ethan we have a better chance of going after Oscar. However, coming through a couple of laps later, there is a yellow flag. Can't figure out quite why, but there is a blue yellow car of Tom Butler on the side. What happened there? As we can see from Butler Cam, we've come into turn 1. There's a whole big checkup. Everyone stopped. Oh my days! And Tom has launched it into the back of George and gone up onto the fence. But hey, look, he's got good bearings. The wheels are still spinning. So I don't really know what happened there. However, we had somebody in there who does know what happened, which is Glenn Freeman. Now, you might know Glenn Freeman. He is the editor of the race, and he is also the host of Bring Back V10s podcast. And this is what he had to say about this incident.
Well, the guys at the front of that group we were in all got stacked up coming out of the corner. So I lifted to make sure I didn't hit them too hard, but the guy behind me in the queue must not have lifted at all, because he just ran right through me and spun me round on the racing line. In terms of ending up backwards on the exit of the corner on the racing line, my eyes were popping out of my head, and I have to say fair play to the guys behind who I think hit the barrier instead of steaming into me head on. I do appreciate that.
And fortunately, after all that, everybody was fine. The race got going again, and the little pack of me, Oscar and Ethan caught up to the back of the group in front, and there was a little bit of carnage going into the penultimate corner and the last corner, but I wasn't quite able to capitalise on it, and I came home a valiant P7.
That was a hell of a day. I mean, to have a massive points deduction and then have to start 9th in the final, to come back and finish 7th was awesome. Really great on track battles. I could not hold Ethan off. Ethan was just far too quick for me today. To be fair, I noticed he was quick all weekend, so well done to Ethan, because I think that's his best GX result. Yeah, well done to Jacob Sharrett for the win, Brad Philpot on 2nd, and Matthew Roberts on 3rd. So as far as my racing went, I think I raced well today. Had a few bits of contact, which they were what they were. I think they're all fairly clean. I was alongside, and you know, I think if anything they were 50-50s, but it's fine. I was fast. I finally got on the pace. I was with that lead pack all the way through the last race, all the way through the last heat. So yeah, no, I'm happy with my racing today, but there will be no emotional plea of getting a trophy this time. So next time it's onto the O plate, and we might have a new toy to play with, as far as something to make this footage look a little bit better. Keep posted for that, and we'll catch you next time. Please do all the things, the likes, the shares, the subscribes, and we'll catch you next time. Thank you, bye. Hello, Brad. Well done, Jacob. How do you feel today?
Better.
Yeah, had a good day, didn't you? You told me you were slow yesterday.
I was.
Yeah? You weren't today, were you?
Had race tired.
You seem very tired.
I am. I want to go home.
You go home.
5-hour drive.
You enjoy your 5-hour drive, and well done, buddy.